Welcome to Repeated Thursday. How y'all doing? I'm Kadesha. Welcome to Repeated Thursdays, the show where we just hang out, we chill, we build projects, answer questions, learn about all the things. It's Thursday. Very happy to be here with you. Today, the goal of the show is to keep working on that project that we started last week. So last week we started building an application called Advocate Hub. Essentially, the goal of the project is to help developer advocates like me keep track of all the content that we produce, because I know I don't have a good system for tracking my content. Hey y'all, welcome to the stream. Hopefully you can hear me. Let me turn down this music, as you know, I love the music, but it can be distracting. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm gonna change it to another type of lo-fi. But hey everybody. So today, we're going to keep working on Advocate Hub. Last week, we stopped off where there was a cores issue. So we're just going to pick right up there and keep going. So today I'm hoping to, I wrote down a list of things I want to do. So today I'm hoping to use the Playwright MCP server to do some visual testing and UI updates. Show you the cores update that I made, show you the design updates that I want to implement, and show you how to automatically generate Copilot instructions in VS Code, and also show you Copilot PR reviews. So quite a few things to get through. So let's start by looking at the changelog as usual. And I won't spend too much time on the changelog because I want to get right into the building, right into the good stuff. I'm going to pop you guys over here on my other screen and then share my screen. But how are you doing? How's it going? How has the week been? I feel like the week has been so fast, and honestly, it feels like so much is going on, but you know, just got to keep pushing and got to keep hoping for the best, and you know, keep learning about vibe coding. All right, let me share my screen real quick. Which one? This window, share. Alrighty, boom. Okay, so you should see my screen there. Let me, do the duckies. Let me make sure I can see you guys talking. Okie doke. So this is the GitHub changelog. So let's see what's new on the GitHub platform. So yesterday, is it the 21st? Yeah. So today it looks like we released Copilot generated commit messages on github.com. What's that? So GitHub Copilot now offers contextual commit messages suggestions for github.com file changes. Oh, I love that. So like right here, when you're you make a change on .com and then you're going to commit your change, it looks like Copilot automatically generate a commit message there. That's cool. I do like that. That's pretty cool. So that ships today.
That's because, you know, sometimes you're making those quick little changes, and usually I just put like updates. I don't even spend time um, doing anything there. So Copilot knowledge bases has been sunsetted, unfortunately. That's okay. Let's see what else we got on the change log before we jump into the project. Gemini 2.5 Pro is available in Copilot. That's awesome. Screen scanning, configure patterns, and push protection is now generally available. Agents panel, launch Copilot coding agent task anywhere on github.com. What? What is that? Ooh, I'm gonna have to look into this later. So in May we launch To open agents panel, click the agents button. Oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So you can open up Copilot Agent. Let me see if I can do a show and tell here. So it looks like here, now you have the agent panel right here where you can do stuff with the agent on github.com. That's pretty cool. I like that. What else do we have? Dependabot now supports Rust tool chain updates. That's cool. It looks like we shipped a lot of stuff, it looks like, since last week. We've been on a shipping train, okay? So be sure to check out the GitHub change log. I'll bring up the link here so you can see. Be sure to check out the GitHub change log to keep up to date with what's going on with GitHub, because as you can see, we're not just shipping Copilot stuff, right? We're shipping stuff across the platform because the entire platform is still our bread and butter. So, hey everyone, yeah, thanks for joining. If you're just joining, welcome to the stream. I'm Kadesha, and I'm gonna get into the meat of the matter. So today, I want us to keep going. I want us to keep building that project we were building last week. I'll turn up this a little bit. I want us to keep building that project we were building last week, Advocate Hub. So this is the UI that we left off with, right? And it's nothing fancy, nothing crazy. But the goal of Advocate Hub is to help developer advocates like me keep track of the content that they're making. So let me show you the idea again real quick, and then we'll get into the coding. Oh, you're not seeing my screen, are you? Doesn't look like. You're not seeing my VS Code. Hold on. Let's see. Nope, remove. Let's do a share. Let me say stop screen. Share. Entire screen, yes, entire screen. Just share. Okie doke. Okay, so now if I do it, boom, there we go. Now you can see my entire screen, right? And let me know if I need to zoom in more for you. So this is the idea that we started building last week. So I want to build an app that easily allows developer advocates to keep track of all the content that they create. Advocates create a mixture of technical blog posts, short-form videos for social media, long-form YouTube videos, webinars, live streams, etc. And we often don't keep track of everything that we're doing. And so I just want to create a centralized place for that. So the core flow is to paste the URL, auto-categorize, and organize. So that's what I want the app to do. And so the tech stack that we're using is Astro, React, TypeScript, and Tailwind CSS for styling. Here are the core features, and this is what we were able to build out last week. So if I go to the YouTubes, let's see, go to GitHub. I'm just gonna grab, yep, there I am. So let's say I want to keep track of this video. Do you guys watch the download on YouTube? It's a really great show where we tell you all about like the latest dev news and all that jazz on GitHub not on GitHub, but like in the world. So we share like the latest developer news and open source stuff on download on GitHub. Okay, so if I paste this link, now I can track it, right? This looks like a to-do list, honestly, because of how the UI is, but the auto tagging here, it automatically recognizes that it's a video, and so it auto tagged that as a video, which I really like. And so this is just the MVP version of the application. But as you can see, the unfurling isn't working. And last week we actually had a course error here. Ooh, look at that. Oh, do I not have the app? Yeah, I don't have localhost running. Let's do that. So let's start our server and keep going. So now if you're new, you know the idea that we're building, you know where we are. So let's keep going. So while I start the server, I actually did go in this morning, like right before the stream, and I went in right before the stream and I pasted the issue, the cores issue, to have Copilot update it, but I didn't accept the changes yet because I wanted us to do that together. So this is my first time hearing of the download. We'll watch it. Yes, make sure you're checking out. Let's take a little pause. So GitHub's YouTube channel is a wealth of information if you didn't know. And not just because I'm on it. That's a joke. But not just because of that, but because we have some really great shows. So let me go to our playlist and you will see. So maybe not playlist. Let's go to the home and see. Okay, so we have, of course, videos on GitHub Copilot, of course. We also have a series called GitHub for Beginners that I lead. So like the team and I, we create content for beginners specifically. So if you're brand new to GitHub, brand new to GitHub Copilot, the GitHub for Beginners series will get you up and running with how to use GitHub and how to use GitHub Copilot. It's really, really good, and you will learn a lot from it. We've done 2 seasons. The first season was last year, and the second season we just completed, and we have season 3 in the works. If there's any type of beginner content you want to see, let me know. Send me a DM. Let me know. Send me a DM on LinkedIn, and I'll be sure to keep that in mind for the next season. The other show we have is the download. So the download is essentially developer news. So it's myself, Kadesha, Andrea, and Cassidy Williams who does the download. And as you can see, it's a very consistent show. It's published bi-weekly, and we keep you updated on the latest developer news. So the other show that we have is the GitHub Checkout show on YouTube. So GitHub Checkout is essentially like, let's say we launched a new feature. We're going to talk to the PMs and the engineers who built that feature to give you like a first-hand insight of how it was built and how you can use it. So for example, we just launched the GitHub MCP server, the remote GitHub MCP server, and we had, I think his name is Toby. We had Toby come on the show and talk about how you can get started with the GitHub remote MCP server. The content is honestly excellent on the GitHub's YouTube channel, let me tell you. And I'm not just saying that because I work at GitHub, I'm saying that because I'm a developer and I love really good dev content. We have accessibility content, of course, customer content, and then also we have Open Source Friday. So Open Source Friday is every Friday we go live and we talk to open source maintainers about their projects and how you can use it, how you can contribute to it, and how you can grow as a developer. So definitely check out the GitHub YouTube channel, y'all. Subscribe to the GitHub YouTube channel and keep up to date with it. I promise you, it's really good. Okay, end of spiel. Let's go back to the code. Okay, so anything you have worked on? Yes, exactly. Magana, or just Priya. I'm just gonna say Priya. I'm sorry, I don't want to butcher your name. That's exactly what we're talking about, Priya. We're talking about where we were last week and where we are now, and we're gonna keep going because, as you know, time goes in the stream. Hello. All right, so let's keep going. So here, this is where we were last week. So if I go back to the UI here, you can see it's a pretty basic UI. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing special about it, but it's an MVP. So you paste the URL, and now we're able to track the work that we do, right? And so the last thing we left off of last week was there was a CORS error. So I went ahead and I sent the CORS error to GitHub Copilot, of course. You know, I love my GitHub Copilot. So I said, if I paste a new link, I get a course error. And then I pasted the error that I was getting. And it examined our content URL unfurling implementation. And then it proposed a change. So essentially the change that it proposed was it implemented an Astro API endpoint or server-side solution, or it saw that a server-side solution was being used, and it says, you know, if you do this, course is going to be blocking that because it's expecting something else. And so it pretty much implemented the unfurl.ts API endpoint to handle the URL unfurling on the server side instead of on the client side. And so if I hit keep, I'm just going to do keep all here. Oh, sorry, wrong way. And so that's why when I paste this here, I did not see any course error. I don't have any more errors in the console. So pretty cool. So the next thing I want to work on, I was thinking to work on updating this design because honestly, the design is burning my eyes. Is it burning your eyes? It's literally burning my eyes. I'm being dramatic. But one thing I wanted to work on was to update this unfurl failed situation. So let's do it this way. I'm gonna just take a screenshot here, upload the screenshot. You know, I love screenshot-driven development. It's amazing. And you can see here that we have Gemini 2.5 Pro is now not in preview anymore. But I'm gonna keep using Claude Sonnet 4. Let me know in the chat, what is your favorite model to use these days? I still love Claude Sonnet 4. You know, I know there's like GPT-5, and there's also, you know, the minis, there's GPT 4.1, there's so many different models, but I really like coding with Claude. How do you feel about it? Let me know. Let me know how you feel about it. Okay, so I'm gonna say it looks like the unfurling isn't working. See attached image. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna do anything crazy. You know, sometimes I find that when I don't do like an overly complicated prompt, you know, I get better results. Like if I'm just naturally talking to the way that I would talk to a person, I feel like I get pretty good results. How do you feel? Do you feel like you have to build out prompts and optimize your prompts in order to work productively with an LLM? Compared to last week, it is way better. I agree. The UI is definitely better from the first version. So you like to use GPT-5 or Claude 4? Yeah, I really like Claude 4. I like GPT-5 sometimes. I like it to, I don't know. I'm just gonna leave that. But I do like Claude 4. Someone says, I heard GPT-5 is not up to the mark. What do you think? What's your experience with GPT-5? Let me know in the chat. So Saint Kumar likes to use GPT-5 as well. Awesome. So there's a lot of GPT-5 love in the chat. That's awesome. So let's see. Oh, I need to run the command. I need to pay attention. Didn't look like that, Ryan. So right now it's checking if the dev server is running properly to test the API endpoint, so it can figure out why the unfurling isn't working properly. But that's a leftover issue from last week. So let's see. So it just did this curl request here in the terminal. And it looks like it's noticed an issue. So I noticed there might be an issue with the abort signal timeout usage, which isn't supported in all Node.js versions. All right. While this is going, I do want to use the Playwright MCP server to have Copilot update the UI to a new design. So I went ahead and created a new design, and I'm going to have Copilot update it with the design. But I wanted to use the Playwright MCP server to check the output of what it's building while it's building it to make sure that it matches pixel for pixel now. I don't know how this is going to work. It's my first time doing it. But have you ever tried the Playwright MCP server? Let me know. And also, what MCP servers are you loving? There are so many. Literally, I wrote down a huge list in my notebook that I want to try out. But honestly, everything is moving so fast, it's a bit overwhelming to try to keep up with it all. But let me know what MCP servers you're loving and that I need to add to my list. So you can see here Copilot opened up the UI for us here, and actually looking at it here, it doesn't look that bad. You know what I'm saying? It's not so bad. It's not so bad. So here we go. This is our app here. I can see the server is set it does. Let me have it try again. Where did that? Console logs. It's looking for console logs. Test on for API. Test YouTube URL. First to say API directly, then try adding the YouTube URL in your app. Also, let me check if there might be a caching issue. Good idea. The test page did load successfully, so you're not wrong there. So it wants me to try the API directly and then try adding the URL again into the main app. 4322/content. Okay, so hold on. So there's a new page here. This looks completely different from the other one. Unfurl failed. Because it's supposed to unfurl and show like the title and just grab information from the site. Let's go back here. Let me close this. And unfurl still fails, So right now, I'll keep this. I'll start a new thread, and let's try a different model to see if a different model can help us debug this. Okay, lots of questions in the chat. So let's see. Someone says that I'll build in GPT-5 if it runs into problems or locks in a dead loop. I'll switch to Claude 4 and it refactors GPT-5 issue. Exactly. So that's exactly what I'm doing, but like the opposite way. So I just use Claude 4. So I'm going to use GPT-5 to see if it can fix the unfurling issue. GPT-5 is better at coding than GPT-4, but I'm still a fan of Claude. Yes, I'm also a Claude Sonnet fan. Let's see. What is MCP? Great question. So MCP stands for Model Context Protocol, and essentially it's a way for LLMs to talk to your external services. So for example, if you want let's say you wanted Copilot to be connected to your database, you can, and your database is the, let's say just like a Firebase database, you can connect Copilot to the Firebase MCP server. That way, Copilot can have access to your database, right? And it's not only limited to like developer tools. You can connect it to Notion. You can connect it to, oh my God, my brain is spazzing. Let's see. So in VS Code, actually, and this is a great segue because I did want to install the Playwright MCP server. But let me know if that definition makes sense. So in VS Code, you can find MCP servers by going to the extensions tab and then doing like :@MCP to search for MCP specifically. Click on Browse MCP Servers. It keeps opening up in a different page. And then it opens up this page here. And now you can see MCP servers that you can like one-click install in VS Code. So I have the Playwright MCP server here, Figma, GitHub. So with the GitHub MCP server, for example, you can create issues, pull requests, you can ask about your repositories, you can, add comments, you can do a lot of stuff through the secure API integration with your LLMs. There are so many. So they have Microsoft Docs, Context 7, Hugging Face, Codicy, Notion, Memory, Zapier. Ooh, Zapier. So imagine if your LLM is able to create workflows for you, like automated workflows for you. There's the Post-Hoc MCP server. That's cool. So if you have, if you're using Post-Hoc for analytics, you can give access to Copilot or your LLM to your Post-Hoc instance and have it look at stuff and do stuff for you. Firecrawler, so many, Apify, Stripe, Azure, Convex, Terraform. So MCP is essentially like a connector for LLMs to connect to the outside world. Hopefully that answered your question, Brian. Let me know. Hello. Is this a Vibe Coding Live? Yes, Marcus, welcome. Welcome to the stream. So every Thursdays I go live and we just build something or we continue to iterate on what we built previously. All right, so it's 1:30, so let's keep going. Oh, actually, Brian, we do have blog posts about MCPs that you can go ahead and read. So let's see, MCP. Here we go. Why we open source? I know this is why, but this really, I defined it. And then I briefly went over the architecture. And then I spoke about GitHub MCP server. And then showed you how you can add it to your VS Code to get started with an MCP server. So check out this blog post to learn about MCP servers. There's also a really good GitHub podcast episode attached to this blog post here that you can listen to unlocking the power of MCP. Alrighty, let's go back to the session. GPT-5 is better specifically. It's specifically for coding and accurate, and also works great with simple prompts than technical term prompts. Tell it to ignore SSL. Okay. Okay. I was reading the comments. Okay. So actually, let's install the Playwright MCP server. So it's just one-click install here. Boop. Open Visual Studio. Install. And I think that's it. I think now the Playwright MCP server is accessible to Copilot. I don't see it listed here, but I wonder if that's how it works. How do I know if it's installed in VS Code? I guess I just have to trust that it's installed. How do I see a list of servers that I have? Oh, okay. So here we go. So MCP servers installed GitHub, Context 7, Playwright. So you can see your MCP servers here in the extension tab. Great. So let's keep going. So the last thing I said was that there's still like unfurl failed coming back. So let's try again with GPT-5. If you have more questions about MCP, just drop them in the chat and I'll be happy to answer them when I take another pause to look in the chat. I'm gonna say like, think about why this might. Lead and implement a solution. It could be something very simple, but because this is vibe coding, I'm not, doing too much. Just trying to give into the vibes and have fun. Once we figure out the unfurling issue, and even if we don't figure out the unfurling issue, I do want to update the UI because I want to show you how awesome the Playwright MCP server is, especially when you connect it to your LLM or like Copilot. So MCP is basically an API connector for pay-per-use via subscription services. So MCP, I would liken it to Chrome extensions. So you know how you can install Chrome extensions on your browser to do different things with your browser? So you can install MCP servers into your LLMs for your LLMs to do different things on your behalf. So like we use Chrome extensions to do additional things and like to connect our browser to additional services. And LLMs have MCP servers to be able to connect to different services. Hopefully that makes sense. It's a way for your LLM to talk to external services. Let's see what's going on here. Searching through the API things, searching usage of unfurling the component, checking the Astro config to ensure API routes are available, reviewing. So it's doing a lot of reading in the code base before implementing any type of updates. Updating the API route to disable pre-rendering and adjusting Astro config for hybrid output to allow dynamic post endpoint. Okay. Can Postman be used to hack MCP server connections? I have no idea. If anyone knows, let me know in the chat. I have no idea, Jorge. Okay, so let's look. We have a timeout helper for fetching. Normalize your relative. I don't know if this is needed. But let's let it cook and then see what happens. All right, so prefer official embed for YouTube to avoid bot unsent reaches. Okay, so using the embed link. All right, it's gonna prepend that. I wonder. Yes, I like that, Bastion. So MCP is basically a middleware between the LLM and your app, similar to how you might have a reverse proxy between your front end and your back end server. Yes. Yes. Think about MCP as like, so like when you think about large language models, they're only as good as the context they have, and then they're only as good as as the context you give to them. So with MCP servers, you're able to give LLMs a lot more context into additional services. You'll see what I mean when we use the Playwright MCP server. Looks like there are. I will say this is taking quite some time. I don't like what's happening here. It feels like over-engineering. I think I'm going to stop this, and I will look at that issue offline to see why it may not be unfurling, because this feels like a lot. I don't know what GPT-5 is doing. That's the thing with working with LLMs. You really have to stop and read the output, and you can't just like blindly accept the changes, right? So I'm going to actually undo all of this. And it's also why it's important to work in branches and stages, which I don't think I even committed anything yet. Let's see if this still works. I should actually try pasting a blog post instead. It still says unfurl fit. I'll have to take a look at this issue offline, just so I can take a look at the API more deeply. For now, let's update the design. I'll take a look at that issue more deeply offline. Sorry. Sometimes when I'm streaming, it's hard to think because there's just a lot going on. Connect Apify to Claude using MCP. This is insane. Yeah, you can also connect Apify to VS Code here. I've never really used Apify before, but I know it's really insane for data extraction, and people use it a lot in end-to-end workflows. But yeah, you can also connect Apify to GitHub Copilot and in VS Code. So let's try to accomplish something today before we end, before the time is up. I'm going to go back to Claude. So earlier, before the stream, I did some design and UI updates. I know I'm going back and forth a lot. So I'm going to try to focus on one thing that we can accomplish today. Close, 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 close. All right, so I did do an updated UI. So this is the new updated UI. I wanted to use cards instead of the current stacking structure. I wanted to have both the stacking structure and cards, where the cards would be the auto. And I think this looks a lot better, a lot cleaner. What do you think? What do you think? I think this looks better. So I want Copilot to update the UI to this, but I also wanted to use the Playwright MCP server. Okay, so now it should upgrade. So you can see that the Playwright MCP server is enabled here, and it has quite a few tools. So I wanted to use the Playwright MCP server to check its work and make sure that everything is, like take screenshots with the browser snapshot tool to capture what's going on the page and make sure that it's doing what we want it to do. Okay, so this is the new UI. Oh no. Okay, so I'm just going to pop this. So I already popped this. You can just drag it here to pop it in the chat. And I want to say update the, the UI to reflect the new design. I'm going to specifically tell it to use the Playwright MCP server to ensure to check your work and make sure the design is design matches the mock. Exactly. Let's see. I don't know if that's going to make a difference. I'm going to say take your time. There is no rush. Think through the implementation, just so it doesn't feel rushed. So this is what we're going for. Sorry, the request failed. No, please try again. Oh no. Let me copy this prompt. Let me start a new chat. And let's try again. There we go. Okay, so this is what we're going for. This is what we currently have. So let's see what Claude can cook up for us here. What Copilot can cook up for us here. Let me see if there are any questions. Yes, it looks better. Okay, good. I'm glad. Very nice. I like the new one. Yes, 100 out of 10 UI. Great. Yeah, so I used a, what did I use to get this? I forgot the tool that I used to get this, but I use one of them LLM tools to get this new UI because I'm not a designer. What are you using for vibe designing? What are you using for vibe designing to build out your apps? All right, so here you see it's invoking the Playwright MCP server. You see that? So now it wants to open the browser to see the current state. It's gonna run that. Look at that, it just opened the browser. Okay, do I need to, hold on. Let's see if I can have these side by side. Let's see if we can have these side by side. Let me open this up. Open chat in editor. Yep. So, okay. Now let me examine the design image from the attachment based on what I can see. I need to understand what changes are required. Oh, it stopped. Continue. All right, it's gonna try again. Okay, it invoked the Playwright MCP server again. Great. Okay, so now you see it's on the browser. Now it's taking screenshots to see the current design. Oh my God, how cool is that? It's navigating to the content page to see what it looks like. Now it's going to examine the new design file. So it went ahead and read the design folder here where all the designs are saved. Making note of all the changes here. And now it's going to update the main content page. Very, very cool. So it's doing a lot of reading and investigation before implementing the design, which is exactly what I would do as a dev, right? I feel like that's what we would do as a developer before we implement something. We would make sure that we know what's currently going on. How do I? Okay, there we go. You can see the changes are being made, but like I feel like I can't. It's too dark. Now it's going to update it to match. But think about how powerful this is when you're updating your applications. You can have Copilot use the Playwright MCP server to evaluate what it's building as it's building and make sure that it aligns with the new mock. I think that's incredible. Yep, I believe in the future, AI will support programmers even more, making coding faster, smarter, and more creative. I agree, Mohammed. I absolutely agree. It's just the next phase of abstraction. Let's see what else is going on in the chat. Nothing crazy. Yep, it started to implement your content collection. Let me see if I can find the design that this is the one that we're targeting. This is what Copilot is attempting to do now. So now it invoked the Playwright MCP server again. It just added this YouTube URL here. Now it's sent it here. How cool is that? And then it captured a screenshot to see what it looks like. I think that's insane. It's gonna do it again. It added a new link. I'm just gonna allow. And it added a new link. That's so cool. No, please don't. Please don't put that request for you. Now it's telling me that it's finished. Honestly, it just made dumbify some devs. Speaking about AI and LLMs and coding assistants, I think this has always been the argument over the decades. Though, think about when the first round of developers had to start using, or like when like when you were able to, you didn't have to write out every single thing for building an application because you could just install and then PM package. I feel like people also felt like it's going to dumbify developers. I think with each level of abstraction, this has always been the argument. And while it may be true for some people, but some people may still double down and learn the fundamentals, because knowing the fundamentals is imperative when using coding assistants. Can someone explain what's going on? Hi, Raul. If you're just joining us, I'm Kadesha, and welcome to the stream. So today we're building an application called Advocate Hub with GitHub Copilot and whichever model we want. And so the goal of the application is to help developer advocates like me keep track of the content that they create across the web. And so this is where we are. And Copilot said it's finished, but this doesn't look finished to me. You know, the UI does look better. I see like some colors here changing and stuff, but I wanted the cards. Let me show you what I mean. Here it is. So this is what I want. This is the output. So I think I need to take it bit by bit, like section by section. You know what I mean? I need to take it section by section, which is honestly what I typically do. But I was like, let me just try to one-shot it and see what happens. So let me do the content collection section first. I'm going to go iteratively here, section by section. Oh no, where's my Copilot? It's here. I lost it. Hold on. I think let me make this bigger. Let's do that. I think it's crazy how long this is. Let me keep all those changes. How do I open it back into like the regular? I just put it here. Let's drag it here. I don't know. Okay, I'm actually gonna have to close this context window. No, there's so much context here. Okay, I'm gonna leave it. Hold on. Give me a second. The image is right next to it here. Okay, so let's take it section by section here. I wanted to do the cards. Oh my goodness. Doesn't want to do it. I promise I know what I'm doing. Like I tell you, sometimes it's really hard to think sometimes. Why isn't it pasting? I'm a little annoyed. Hold on. Bim, bim, bim. Bim, 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 bim. I pasted it as like a straight link. Let's make that. Let's go back. I'm gonna close this. I don't like. Hold on. It doesn't seem to work the same when I do it in the editor. Okay. Help me update the content collection section of the UI. Make sure it matches exactly with cards list. Use the playwright MCP server to make sure matches. Let's see if we take it one section at a time if we get a better output. So I'm just going to pop this over here so we can see what's going on. I'm gonna close that, and this is what we're going for. Let's see. What time is it? Almost time. Okay, so it's trying to run the dev server. Interesting, because there is a dev server running here. Let me stop this one. All right. dev server is running. Now it's invoking the Playwright MCP server. Vertical list format with thumbnails. Yes, I want it to be in cards. Oh, looks like there's a conversation happening in the chat on LinkedIn about the comment earlier about developers being dumbed down because of AI tools. It's another level of abstraction, you know? What ML model works best for web apps? What do you guys think? What model do you think works best for web applications? So we were kind of talking about this earlier, and I like using Claude. I like using Claude Sonnet 4 specifically. A lot of people also like using Claude for coding, like Claude Sonnet 4, but some have been loving GPT-5. So with GitHub Copilot, thankfully, you have access to a lot of models. And so you can kind of just play around and like test out each model to see how it performs and how it works. You can also evaluate models as well, you know, using more standardized evaluation metrics. Thanks for joining, Rob. See you next time. Alrighty. Oh, looks like we have cards. But this is so huge now. Let's see what's going on. So let me update the content list component to match the mock exactly. So went into the content list component, then it needs to complete the rest of the content card component with the closing tags and metadata, made updates there. Looks like there was an issue with the file structure. The file was malformed. Oh, wow. See what I mean? You always have to make sure that you're checking the output. I really haven't been checking the output. I'm just like, you know, accepting and giving it feedback based on what I'm seeing, which, you know, we're just vibe coding. Now it's trying to copy and remove. Let's see what the main page looks like. Are these? Yep, looks like it implemented the cards. Oh, it's because it was minimized. Okay, I got you. Yeah, so it looks like going step by step is better than trying to give it the entire file to do. You can add a tag here, it looks like. Yep. Okay. So that section is updated. Got to go. Bye. Thank you for joining. See you next time. Wow, it's working. Interesting. I know it's actually doing it. And so now it's going to use the Playwright MCP server to check out what's happening on the UI. Now it has a grid view and a list view. Let me click on the grid view button to see how it looks. And it just took a screenshot. This is so cool. You can see that it now clicked on the list view to see how it looks. Yeah, continue working. It's really nice to see how it's actually doing the thing with the Playwright MCP server. This is so powerful. Think about UI testing. Like, you can set up a standalone prompt or instruction file for Copilot, and then when you're ready to do your UI testing with Playwright, you can just have it go and, you know, do stuff. I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, so now we have cards and we also have lists. So it just implemented both, which I love. I think that's great. If I track something else, no, that's not what oh, hold on. What happens if I track like a random link like this? But sometimes the link keys are very random. Yeah, it does it pretty quickly. It looks like there's still that unfurling issue, but I'll take a look at that offline because I need to think about it. Yeah, unfurl API error is here. So I need to check out the unfurl.txt file, but I'll make sure to keep track of all the changes that I do so we can talk about it next week. But I think that's gonna have to be it for today, y'all. We'll keep working on the UI next week. Hopefully you learned some stuff. One thing I did want to show you, hold on. Seeing the Playwright MCP server live, like that was my first time using it. That is incredible. I love that. And as you can see, going step by step or going like section by section, you'll get better results because you're not overwhelming the model with context, and so it will know what to focus on. I don't hate the purple gradient thing that's happening here for this. I think I'll keep it. You know, if a designer wants to come in and give me something else, they can. But that was pretty cool. So let me just create or generate a Copilot instruction file here. So GitHub Copilot is going to take the context of the entire, it's going to analyze the code base to generate a instruction file for us here. Just in case you didn't know you could do that, you can. Could a centralized web store for version-specific documentation be created to serve as a reliable data source for AI coding agents? Wow, that is a very wordy question. I'm sorry, could a centralized web store for version-specific documentation be created to serve as a reliable data source for AI coding agents? What are you trying to accomplish? So I know how to answer better. I'm having a hard time parsing the question. It's a lot. Ask the question simpler, and also tell me what you're trying to accomplish. Are you trying to make sure that a large language model has updated version-specific information on different packages that you're using? If so, you can use the Context 7 MCP server to give the LLM updated information about packages. Okay, so it's working on the instructions. Wow, should pop it in here. Yep, now it's going to create it, but this is where we are. I think, you know, from where we were to where we are now, it looks looking pretty good. I'm not disappointed at all. Okay, here we go. Now we have the instructions. And so I like doing this because Giving Copilot instructions or like having instructions for your tools is very important because it gives the tool that initial context that it can go off of when it's creating changes and updating things. So there's the project overview, the architecture pattern, the library-based organization, commands to run the app, contents, feature and development, API integration, styling system. So this is really good context for Copilot to have when it's working on this application. So I'm just going to, stage and commit. And that's all she wrote, folks. That is all for today. I hope you enjoyed the session, and I hope you will come back. I've really been loving Rubber Duck Thursdays because it's just such a chill, fun, low efforts, not low effort, but like low, chill vibe stream. And I just come in here and we just talk and just build and have a nice time. Let me know if you have any questions. Be sure to follow GitHub on all the platforms, LinkedIn and YouTube. Be sure to check out the shows on the YouTube channel. If you're an open source maintainer and you have an open source project, you can be featured on Open Source Fridays. Let me know if you're interested in that. But until next time, guys, this has been Rubber Duck Thursdays. Rubber Duck Thursdays. Rubber Duck Thursdays. Okay, bye.